Okay, here we go. So, first things first. I want to say the year is 2015, and I'm a newly appointed marketing coordinator and one of the pretty cool Magento agencies some of you might have heard of. The agency is called Inchu, and working at Inchu means that you work with a certain level of responsibility because they have a certain reputation in the Magento community. And for you to understand what that meant for me is you need to understand that I came from the NGO sector, which means that I've never worked within IT community ever before. And Inchu decided to send me to a Meet Magento Poland so that I'm better able to understand developers, that I'm better able to understand clients. And I remember we are standing in front of the hotel and there's this pre-conference activity, and it is supposed to be jumping out of an airplane. We are all like adrenaline enthusiasts. And we are talking like, you know, the usual stuff, where you come from, what it is that you do. And I remember talking with this guy who turned out to be this pretty popular guy in the Magento community. His name is Brendan Folkowski. And he's asking like, oh, what it is that you do? And I'm like, I'm marketing coordinator. And he's like, oh, amazing, I'm a front-end developer. And I remember that conversation taking like a very sudden turn when I felt like my spirit leaving my body, looking at me from above, my body saying so, but my spirit is like, no, don't say that comment. And I'm like, no. And my body is saying, front end, back end, no. That's all the same, no. And I literally said to one of the pretty cool and popular guys in the Magento community, back end and front end, that's all the same. I swear to all the guys sitting here, and especially to my boss, I now know what is the difference between back end and front end. But I remember that was the lemon feeling that I have on my presentation. You know, when you bite into the lemon and you're feeling like, oh my God, I just need to survive through this. So, let's see. Oh, it works, amazing. So, from my experience, the crossroads is usually where that lemon feeling occurs. You're usually standing on the crossroads. It doesn't matter, is it like project management and working with a client, or crossroads between, oh, I need to go to the hotel room, but I also need to check out, or I need to be completely ready for whatever is going to happen. The thing is that crossroads is never pleasant, and I don't know what your particular crossroad is. Maybe you are a CEO, or maybe you are an e-commerce manager, or maybe you're a director, but we have all been faced with that lemon feeling when you're really trying to make a smart call, a very good decision, and it's really hard. So, standing at that crossroad is not an easy task, and I remember I was a kid, and I thought that I'm very old and that I'm very smart, like all teenagers do. I was 14 or 15 years old. And I remember I was watching Braveheart, and I don't know, has anyone here watched Braveheart? Show of hands. Oh, amazing, this is going to be very good. So, there is this scene where Mel Gibson is riding on the horse, and he's being all like, I am William Wallace. And I see a whole army of my countrymen here in defiance of tyranny. You have come to fight as free men, and free men you are. What will you do without freedom? Will you fight? And it wasn't about Mel Gibson. It was about this young guy standing on the side who all of a sudden said, no, we will run and live. And in most of the situations in business, that is my initial feeling. I just want to run away. Because innovation and often comes with that feeling of being brave, and it's not something that is done very easily. So, if we are to take a description from Oxford Dictionary, bravery is actually, and I'm reading this for you, courageous behavior or character, and innovation means making changes in something established. And if we look at both of those things, they need to come together. So, whenever I talk with one of our clients or with our project managers or, I don't know, business owners in general, did you notice that 100% of them always is like, I want my business to grow. I have never, ever met a business person who literally said, oh no, I want to run my business to the ground. So that is sometimes hard because if you notice, especially in the age of social media, on every single channel, there is always this, I call them Jane Doe or a John Doe, who are like, making this business call was extremely easy. It was like a logical next step for our business. And the truth is, there is not a lot of logical next steps. So, I know that all of us are afraid, sometimes due to different reasons, and I listed 4 most often ones. I have some friends who are psychologists, and they told me that people are very naturally inclined to be afraid of a lot of things, but in business, that's especially in extreme, because being afraid can come from being afraid of the fact that we need to launch an extremely amazing new products, or that we need to make something so groundbreaking, something so new that it will make the earth move, or that we need to have the newest trend, the newest pop-up dot, that there is something that needs to be completely disrupting the market, or we are afraid that we need to be the Musk of the world, that if we are not one of those very important innovators, we're not actually innovating. But in order to move our business forward, we need to do so, and that means being brave. So let me tell you a story. So the story is actually about one of our clients, and I have this luck that I'm working with some pretty, not only amazing people, but also very smart people. And those smart people come in form of project managers and developers, and in form of our clients as well, who are e-commerce managers or e-commerce directors. And one of those e-commerce directors, her name is Anna, and she is an e-commerce director of this brand called Catbird. And Catbird is actually a brand that has been alive or existed since 2004. They originally started in a very busted storefront in Williamsburg. The founder, Ronnie Wardy, started selling elbow patches and ribbons and some handmade jewelry. But it wasn't actually until they moved to a different, like a second storefront that kind of later became their flagship store, that the success really started. And for us, a very, very big challenge came in form of translating that very rich experience into a seamless digital experience. And I'm saying that because Catbird is usually one of those brands who is toted by some fashion magazines you might have heard of, such as Vogue or Elle or Marie Claire, and that means having a certain level of responsibility when you're actually doing their online sales. So, why am I mentioning Catbird, and why is it important that you understand their story? Their story is actually all about being brave. And when I say they are being brave, it means that they are willing not only to take the guidance or something new or an input from us as their agency, but it also means that they are willing to discover what works in the market. They are willing to make what we call an educated guess. And click. Can we get to the next slide? The interesting one? Okay. So, talking to Anna and actually maybe making some pretty big and important changes, such as moving from Magento 1 to Magento 2, or innovating, or me having some of the modules implemented, such as same-day shipping, sorry about that, actually led to those results. It also led to the fact that we have been nominated for an Imagine Excellence Award this year for the mobile optimization, for the mobile experience. But that also came like behind the scenes. We have been working on the mobile optimization initiative with PayPal, and we have been testing so many things on their site to make an informed decision about why their experience and how their experience can be improved. And this presentation is not only about the story about the Catbird, it is actually dedicated to every single person in this room who has ever been faced with making any type of decision. And I know that every single one of us makes 100 100 judgment calls every single day. And the thing is, not all of them are easy, and you're not going to be right every single time. What is important is that we are learning from those mistakes. Owning our mistakes is actually the single most important thing that can propel us forward. It accounts for more than we think of, and it actually makes for the difference of thinking between I'm a screw up and I screwed up. As very busy businessmen, we tend to believe that we are defined by what we do, but we are actually defined by the level of dedication we have to certain something, whether that's a result or whether that's the way we handle business. Moving forward. Thank you. For the business to actually improve, we need to decide to be laser focused. Cadbury didn't get those results just because they decided they're going to do 100 things at once. It is absolutely impossible. I always say that it's more important to do 3 things very, very well rather than doing 7 things poorly or so-so. So what it means being laser focused is actually enabling people on your team and enabling your client to learn, giving learning opportunities both to yourself and to everybody you are surrounded with. And if we are going to go back to that Mel Gibson moment, is you cannot conquer fear, but you can manage it. And in business, it is not important to have a lack of fear. It is actually important just to be present in the moment. Lack of fear actually usually means that you don't care enough about your business. It actually means that if you're not feeling that fear about something new, you're not completely dedicated to what you do. And my favorite lesson from working in the Magento community and with Magento for the last 5 years is that great things happen on the crossroad of insight and gut instinct. I know, and we have been listening to that today, and I believe that a lot of these late conferences are dedicated to understanding data or implementing data results into your business. But some of the really, really amazing things actually happen on that crossroad between gut instinct and insight. It is actually, I believe it was Ford who said, if you ask people what do they want, they wouldn't say a car, they would say faster horses. So for brands these days, it is very important to take a stand on the things that matter. And if you're not listening to that gut instinct, you will not be able to understand when it's important to take that stand. You need to be able to communicate with your customers. And sometimes for Cadbury, that actually meant just having Instagram live stories because people really needed to understand and feel how are their products made. If their values come from, we are using eco and animal friendly products, that gold is not dirty, diamonds are not dirty. Our jewelry is being handmade. They really wanted people to understand and see that. And seeing that can be, okay, you are invited to our studio, you can see how everything is made, but it also meant using every single channel, no matter how untested it may seem, to be able to make that very good call. So in the end, I would like to say that whatever you are not changing, you are choosing. And if you're not very happy with where you currently stand for, if you're not happy with the status quo, and most of the people are not, you have to decide to do something completely different. I will circle back to that moment that I had when I first met Magento, where I actually felt, oh my God, I hope the parachute won't open. And saying that being brave sometimes means it's like jumping out of a perfectly good plane, but it actually is necessary to be able to land on something new and something even better. Thank you. Questions? Yes.
Any thoughts on how to balance being part of an organization, or getting to focus in the organization, but also being innovative, like your organization, or
Okay.
how do you do that?
Um,
Aside, we're really focused on our technology work every day.
Okay.
But if we're not innovative, we're going to fall behind.
Mhm.
So it's kind of
I think what really worked for us at Imagination Media is actually the culture of innovation, I would say. Every single person that I have been working with, they have the right to, I would say, voice their concerns, but also to suggest something new. Suggestion to a client can come from a developer, it can come from a project manager, and it can also come from me, even though I'm working as a marketing director. So maybe if we are working together on a case study and I see a room to do something different, that is also a way to suggest that. I think that really nurturing that freedom to, I don't know, connect with the community, let's say Magento community, because I believe you know how loud they are about voicing whatever it is going on. I think that was the main point, and it still is the main point of growth for us. And for me, Imagination Media is different than any agency I have ever encountered with. And I'm not saying that because I work for them, but I'm saying that because the core is the technical expertise, but amongst all of that, we have more than 90% of the company are developers. We still manage to find this really nice balance of let's do something new, something completely different. Let's apply to Magento Innovations Lab. And then all of those little, very, very little things actually leading to people feeling comfortable in whatever it is that they do.
So is that formalized at all, or is it just the culture?
Some of the things are, but I have to admit that some of the things are not. And to be very honest, like we can discuss that later when I'm not on the stand, but I think that sometimes it's better not to have everything formalized. If people feel that they need to fill in the form to be able to be creative, I'm like, where is the creativity? Where is the innovation there? You're welcome. Any more questions? Yes. I used to be a lot more stressed out about things going in a certain direction. I was the girl who always had the spreadsheet, the plan. I would delegate very harshly, and I think that for me, innovation came in the form of actually understanding the people better, which leads to better relationships with everybody. That also improved our results. I would say being on the PayPal webinar or Magento webinar as Imagination Media is one of the pretty cool things you can say, or having the blog published on Magento, which kind of was like, okay, we'll like it, and it was said by Adobe, and then Adobe pulled that blog post to their blog. I think those are some pretty cool things that naturally and organically happened because I was more relaxed and more comfortable with the role, but also with the people surrounding me.
Okay, and then, as I understand it, Imagination Media you work remote, right?
Yes.
And then in each role there's an office.
Yeah.
So how is communication different? Because when you work with someone in person, you can express yourself in the right way.
Mhm.
Okay? But when you write, sometimes you can be mistaken or misunderstood.
Okay.
So how is this? Are you more careful then in the way that you explain everything? Because
I think that every company is different. It doesn't matter is it remote or you are in the office. What I believe is that we have the daily call every morning at 8 a.m. Miami time, but for me it's 2 p.m. It is our very important point of contact. A lot of my work has changed ever since I started joining those daily calls, because as someone who works remotely in maybe first 2 or 3 months, Ali, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I was not joining the daily calls. I was just doing my business, like this is it. But ever since I started joining those daily calls, I was actually able to understand the developers better and what it is that's going on for them. And I think that for every marketer, it doesn't matter if they are in the office or they are working remotely, it's very important to understand the fact that developer work is so different than what we do. They get hassled by clients, and I say that in the sweetest way possible, a lot. And if a client has something that is a priority, something broke down, then the article or the blog post or the whatever we are working on for marketing, it just falls behind. So I don't know, does that answer your question? But I don't think that me as a person changed. I just think that I learned how to understand different people better, yeah, and that is reflected in the communication as well. You're welcome. Any more questions?